We've titled this panel Forgotten People because for a long time people in this area didn't really talk about Indigenous people who lived in this area. Uh, when I first started working at the museum, which was a long time ago, 1983, we would say that if people asked, we were saying that there weren't really Indigenous people living here. It was too snowy. They didn't really like it here. They might have gone through, but they didn't live here. We now know that that's not true. We know that there was villages at Big Eddy. There were villages all along the lake at Arrowhead and all the way down. And but for some reason, their story got lost. It got forgotten. And it is a very long and complicated story about why that happened. But when the first explorers and fur traders came to this area in the early 1800s, that's more than 200 years ago, the Sinixt people were living in their traditional territory. But diseases were brought into North America and they killed many Indigenous people throughout the region. The traditional patterns of land use were also disrupted by the creation of fur trading forts and the creation of the border between Canada and the United States in 1846. In 1871, the Colville Reservation was created in Washington State, and the Sinixt people were included as one of several tribes on the reservation. This made it harder for the Sinixt people to come into their Canadian territory because the Canadian settlers said that the Sinixt were American and didn't belong here. That's even though most of their territory, 80% of their territory, was in Canada, but it was really hard for them to come into it anymore. Their traditional lands and hunting and gathering rights were completely ignored by the settlers who came into this area. The Sinixt people were not allowed reserve land that they requested, such as near Castlegar. Instead, a small reserve was created on the Arrow Lakes, but it was never an appropriate place. Finally, in 1956, the Government of Canada declared that the Arrow Lakes, or Sinixt Band, was extinct as a nation in Canada. Of course, many Sinixt people were living in Washington State, and many Sinixt people had married into other nations, so into the Okanagan or the Silk and the Secwepemc Nation as well. Over the last 30 years, the Sinixt have been trying to make their history known again in Canada. They have had representatives working to try to teach people about their history, and that's why we've created this exhibit here. The current Arrow Lakes coordinator is Shelley Boyd, and she's trying to let people know that this was part of their territory, that they did exist, that they still exist now.